wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic Podcast. This is Steve coming to you from Conway, Arkansas. This is a podcast where we explore the ancient philosophy of Stoicism, a philosophy put forth originally by Zeno and carried on by many followers, including the Romans, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, and influenced Christianity and philosophers all the way up to the modern era, and brings forth an ancient form of philosophy. We can look into it, dig back. A lot of times it's futile to go backwards because, we don't go back to the Romans for science. Let's treat medical disorders the way the Romans would have because they were wise. That's not it exactly. But they did reflect on human nature, which has not changed a lot from their era, and they had the time and the wherewithal to think about what it meant to be happy, how best to live, and these things have not changed in the millennia. But we often forget what advice they had, and it's worth listening to. Sometimes you take some of it with a grain of salt. Other times it's right on the money, and it's something that we probably should apply to our lives. So I've had a few weeks off. I've enjoyed the time off. I've been doing a lot of reading, trying to cram it in anyway. I've been taking the Marcus Aurelius course with the College of Stoic Philosophers, and I've been studying Stoic logic, and it's a bit of a challenge because I have to write essays and things, and boy, it's hard to find the time. I probably should have thought about that before signing up, but I'm also teaching, of course, for my job, and trying to keep this podcast afloat as well. So things are pretty busy here, but it's good. It's good to stay busy because I find if I stay sedentary, then I live in my head too much, and I have not reached the perfect sage, I'm afraid, or anywhere near sagehood, in terms of my ability to be with myself and not lead myself astray. I am not always good company to myself, so I have to watch that. I can talk myself, into a spiral of overeating and overthinking and depression and things. So it's good to be busy. Maybe one day I will perfect my Stoic training and be good company even to myself. Seneca writes about these sorts of things. It's worth looking into and thinking about. Because even when we travel to get away from our home, we can't get out of our heads. So we are always around. So we have to try to make ourselves as good as possible. This week I'm going to just read a segment of a reading from the Discourses of Epictetus, and it's a longer discourse. I just thought we'd do something a little different, jump into a little Epictetus this week. Had been doing Marcus Aurelius, could go back to Marcus actually. There's a lot to do there, but I thought it'd be nice to just hear from Epictetus a little bit. And this week from the Discourses, because we already did the Enchiridion. Let's hear from the Discourses, but they're usually pretty long and beefy, and the public domain translations are probably not great for long reading. So we're going to take a sample of that and discuss what he has to say. This week he's going to talk to us about especially people like me who have their hearts set on living in tranquility, living in peace, kind of retiring from the world a little bit. He's going to kind of chastise us and our desires. The Discourses of Epictetus, Book 4, Number 4, to those who are desirous of passing life in tranquility. Remember that not only the desire of power and of riches makes us mean and subject to others, but even the desire of tranquility, and of leisure, and of traveling abroad, and of learning. For, to speak plainly, whatever the external thing may be, the value which we set upon it places us in the subjection to others. What then is the difference between desiring to be a senator or not desiring to be one? What is the difference between desiring power or being content with a private station? What is the difference between saying, I am unhappy, I have nothing to do, but I am bound to my books as a corpse, or saying, I am unhappy, I have no leisure for reading? For as salutations and power are things external and independent of the will, so is a book. For what purpose do you choose to read? Tell me. For if you only direct your purpose to being amused or learning something, you are a silly fellow, and incapable of enduring labor. But if you refer to reading to the proper end, what else is this than a tranquil and happy life? But if reading does not secure for you a happy and tranquil life, what is the use of it? But it does secure this, the man replies. For this reason I am vexed that I am deprived of it. And what is this tranquil and happy life, which any man can impede? I do not say Caesar or Caesar's friend, but a crow, a piper, a fever, or 30,000 other things. But a tranquil and happy life contains nothing so sure as continuity and freedom from obstacle. Now I am called to do something. I will go then, with the purpose of observing the measures which I must keep, of acting with modesty, steadiness, without desire and aversion to things external. And then I may attend to men, what they say, how they are moved, and this not with any bad disposition, or that I may have something to blame or to ridicule, but I turn to myself and ask if I also commit the same faults. How then shall I cease to commit them? Formerly I also acted wrong, but now I do not. Thanks to God. So, Epictetus says in this couple of paragraphs that I've read here that whenever we want something or don't want something external, so that could be, like he says, leisure or travel or office or recognition, whatever it is, when we put our values, the things we want, when we elevate external things like travel, leisure, books, and things to that level where our happiness rests upon them, then we are putting our happiness in the hands of circumstance and in the hands of other people. So then wanting something is no different than not wanting something. I want to be a senator, or oh my God, I would never want to be a senator. Either way, you could be made upset if suddenly you're thrust into the position or the position is denied you. You might find yourself miserable. And then he says, people can have the same things for the life of leisure, the same view of life when it comes to a life of leisure. In that you could say, well, me and these books are tied together. It's as much fun as being tied to a corpse. I'm sick of it. Or you could say, I never have time to read, and not have your happiness there. And he says, well, okay, so why you want to read? Why do you want to read so much? Is it for entertainment? Is it for pleasure? Well, then, he's not impressed by those reasons. But is it to improve? Is it to live rightly? And then, and if you're using it for the right purpose, then just doing it occasionally and then growing as a person so you can act better should be where your happiness lies, rather than just the act of reading, but living well, putting that reading into practice should be where your happiness lies. But he says, you put all your happiness in your ability to sit down and read whenever you want. And that's where you place your happiness, where you think happiness lies. And he says, well, a lot of the things we talk about, like your life, your home, Caesar can take it away. Caesar's friends could take it away. They could declare you a threat and order you to commit suicide tomorrow and take your house. But we're not even talking about that level of life here. We're talking about a life where anyone, even a crow or someone playing a flute or a fever or 30,000 other things could happen that would keep you from reading this afternoon. I know it. I've been trying to do this. I've been trying to read a lot. I'm trying for this course I'm taking. I'm supposed to read some some Hadot. I forget his first name right now, but Hadot. The philosophy as a way of life, and I'm also reading some other works. Anyway, finding the time is quite difficult, and anything can interrupt it. My son singing incessantly, for example, makes it very difficult for me to read. But place your happiness on living well, taking what you have read in the past and putting it into action, with the knowledge that if you find the time to read, you will do so, and you will do so for the purposes of improving yourself. Place your happiness there in your choices, and you will do okay. Meanwhile, you might have to go work with others, do service that you hadn't planned on, observe others, talk with others, and you should learn from that as well. Pay attention to what others do and look at their actions, and then judge yourself then. Do I do the things they're doing? Should I do the things they're doing? Should I avoid doing the things they're doing? Where am I falling short? Don't judge others and be preachy to them, but look at others' actions and then ask yourself if you do the same things. You might not be able to sit down and read a book all day, but even when you're taking action, you can grow and learn as if you were reading a book by reading the world around you, by looking at the actions of others. And once again, not judging them and condemning them, but looking at them and then reflecting on your actions and comparing yourself. Not in the sense that like, oh, I wish I was successful like them. But if you see someone acting in a way that you think is poor, oh, they shouldn't do that. Well, ask yourself, well, when have I done that? Do I do that actually? What are my faults that that person would judge me for? And you can grow as an individual. And eventually you might one day say, well, there was once a time when I used to do those things, but thanks to philosophy and my attempt to follow nature, I no longer act that way. Something to think about. So that was a short reading from Epictetus. Hope you're doing well and enjoying the podcast. You can email me with any comments or questions, sundaystoic@gmail.com. And until then, I hope you have a great week. Put this stuff into practice and try to follow nature and seize the day. Carpe diem.